Word of more pardons by outgoing President Trump have just come in. Let's get the news from Joe Johns at the Capitol. What do we know?
Well, we're just getting information from the White House about the pardons, and I can tell you this. According to the White House, the president granted pardons to 73 individuals, commuted the sentences of another 70, so that's what, 143 acts of clemency by the president in the last hours of his administration. And just run down through some of the names. We've already told you about Steve Bannon, that love-hate relationship he's had with the former senior advisor who was charged with defrauding people who were sending money in to help build President Trump's border wall. He obviously has gotten a pardon. Here are some other names. Some are not surprises, and you probably heard this before. A couple rappers, KODAK Black, Lil Wayne. There's an individual named Elliot Broidy, who was a top fundraiser for the Trump campaign. Paul Erickson, who was a conservative political operative who was charged with wire fraud. Kwame Kilpatrick, the former Detroit mayor, gets a pardon. He was charged with racketeering. And Avian Sella, this is an individual who was connected to the Jonathan Pollard espionage case that dates all the way back to 1986. So those are a few of the names of these individuals. But the top line, Chris, is 140 individuals total get clemency from the president on his way out the door here. 73 individuals got pardons, and 70 people actually got commutations. Back to you, Chris.
Appreciate the news. Joe, as we go for analysis, let me just answer a frequently asked question here, okay? Clemency, pardon, commutation, what's the difference? Okay, it's all clemency. Clemency means mercy, okay? And under that umbrella, you have pardons and you have commutations. A commutation is a reduction in sentence. It can be partial, it can be complete. Okay? It can also remove financial penalties, but it does not remove the fact that you were convicted of a crime. A pardon is a complete pass. Okay? Now, as John Dean was explaining earlier, a pardon can be tailored. It can be a complete pass, but only within a certain category. For instance, he was reminding us of General Flynn and that pardon, which was done as a pardon only with specific inference to the Mueller investigation. What does that mean? Well, if they were to find some far-flung notion at this point, based on how little information we have, that Flynn was somehow part of a conspiracy for what happened on January 6th, I haven't seen anything like that, but it's been discussed politically. Well, would he be pardoned from that? The answer is no. So what do these mean? What do they mean for Trump? What do they mean for us? Let's go to former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara. I spared you that tutorial because you know it in your sleep. But what do you make of these 73 pardons, 70 commuted sentences?
So I haven't seen the whole list. Based on some of the things that were just mentioned, it looks like, once again, if you know the President of the United States and you're an associate of the President of the United States and you help the President of the United States in some way or another, you got the benefit of, as I said before, the greatest gift you can get from a sitting president, and that is a pardon. I also note, just I've been looking on the internet myself, and with respect to the pardon of Steve Bannon, there's some write-up with respect to each of these pardons. It appears that one of the sentences that comes in connection with the pardon of Steve Bannon is, Mr. Bannon has been an important leader in the conservative movement and is known for his political acumen. What that has to do with the conferral of a pardon or a commutation on someone makes no sense to me at all.
Makes all the sense to you, Preet, because the only reason that Trump would want to do this is because he may need Bannon going forward. So his political acumen, which I think is suspect, and his role of being able to mooch off any kind of cleavage of the conservatives, that's exactly why he'd be giving him the pardon. They were just frankly honest in that.
Yeah, look, Trump for a long time has said out loud what most people keep to themselves when they're engaging in corruption or criminal activity. But the other thing, some of these pardons are going to be futile. Like with respect to Steve Bannon, who has not been convicted, whose charges are pending, the statute of limitations has not run. The nature of the crime, it's a straightforward fraud. It's wire fraud under the federal statute. Any one of a number of local jurisdictions, any one of a number of district attorneys can take the file or do their own investigation and probably charge Steve Bannon for the same conduct in short order.
That's an interesting take. And now we look at what isn't on the list, or who isn't on the list. No Rudy Giuliani. No Julian Assange, who had been rumored to be in consideration. No Donald John Trump. No Trump children or son-in-law. Notable?
I think so, just because there's been so much speculation about it. And I, ventured into the arena of prognostication and suggested that he probably would go for it. And look, we still have a few hours left. There is still some argument that he wants to mess with the storyline of tomorrow's coverage of all of you at CNN and other networks, and bust into the coverage of the inauguration of Joe Biden. And maybe some of those more controversial pardons will come tomorrow at the last minute. But I've always assumed that President Trump has no shame, doesn't care about how things look, and wants maximum protection for himself and his hide and his family. And those pardons would issue, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, I mean, so far he hasn't done it. And I guess he could do it at some time before the inauguration. But I think this was supposed to be their big final dump on this information. We'll see. But here's what we know right now. Preet, thank you very much for walking us through this and what stands out to you. Appreciate you, Preet Bharara. All right, let's talk more about this. Who's there, who isn't there? Norm Eisen, John Dean. John, we were just talking about this before. Norm, thank you for joining us. John, he didn't pardon himself. He didn't pardon his kids. He didn't pardon his son-in-law. Why not?
Not yet. First of all, you've got to put a caveat that he doesn't have to announce a pardon. It could be done in private and stuck in his pocket, and we wouldn't know it until he was indicted and pulled it out for defense. Same with the kids. They could hold it tight. So we assume he didn't do it, though. That's the only way I can be sure on that. I can't give you a definitive he didn't do that one.
Oh, that's a good one, Norm. That would be a sneaky move. Although, if there was one thing we can count on with this White House, it's that it's a sieve. So I'd be shocked if it didn't leak out very quickly that he had done that. No Rudy Giuliani, no Julian Assange, but yes, Steve Bannon. Your take, Norm?
Well, Bannon is a perfect encapsulation, Chris, of everything that's wrong with the pardons that Trump has done over the past 4 years, and this a wave of about 150 of them. Bannon is a crony of Trump's going back to the campaign. So in that respect, it's like the pardon of Mike Flynn, or Roger Stone or Paul Manafort. It's a pardon that smacks of quid pro quo, Chris, which is, if proven, a crime that Trump is trading. Bannon knows an awful lot about him, including about the insurrection. So is Trump trading this pardon for silence on Bannon's part? And then the third C, Chris, is corruption. Trump wants Bannon's help, perhaps on starting a new political party. That's the rumor today in Washington. Is he willing to overlook the fact that Bannon ripped off Trump followers to line his own pockets? That's what he's being prosecuted for, in order to get his help going forward. It stinks, Chris. Like so many other Trump pardons, it reeks to high heaven.